Good morning, golf fans. It's your boy, Gsluke, here with our live stream for round 2 of the American Express. Going to break down how to attack Showdown and props for today to go out there and have yourself a solid start to the weekend. Round 1 was pretty okay to us on the DFS side, but over on the prop side, we absolutely smashed. Ended up going 9-2 on our props. A lot of that because of how easy the courses were playing. And here for round 2, a similar prop board. So excited to hop into that towards the end of the stream here. But early on, I'm going to focus on the DFS side, where in Showdown, we're probably going to see a massive edge today. So I'm going pretty heavy unit-wise over there on the Showdown side. And a lot of that has to do with the situation that we find ourselves in. So without further ado, without any delay at all, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we're talking about, which is a huge edge between the golf courses. Right, heading into the week, I mentioned this La Quinta course was likely going to be the easiest of the three. And while they had by far the highest talent level for round 1, it played a shot, about 1.15 shots easier than the Nicklaus Tournament course. And then when you compare it to the Stadium course, it was a whole 2.5 shots easier. Now, the reason for that is all the water out there at the Stadium course. In fact, if you look at the birdie rate at the Stadium, it's not all that much different than what you have at the other two golf courses. It's just that you see a lot more bogeys made there, a lot less streaks than what you have at La Quinta in the Nicklaus course. Nicklaus course has back-to-back par 5s. Same thing with La Quinta over here on the front 9. 5 and 6 are almost a for sure back-to-back birdie opportunity, which means that not only are you getting better scoring, right, less bogeys, the better chance to go out there and get a bogey-free round, but you also have really good spots to go after streaks. You see holes number 11 here and 13 are also par 5s, which means, obviously those two are pretty easy to pick off. You pick off hole number 12 here, which is birdie 27% of the time, and that's a streak. You go over here, right? You birdie number 4, you birdie 5 and 6. There's a 25% chance of getting a streak there. Or if you go ahead and end it right over here at hole 7, right, it was a 31% birdie rate. So you saw a ton of streaks over here at La Quinta. Over at the Nicklaus Tournament course, a little bit less crazy, right? You can see 10, 11, 12 wasn't a bad spot. Maybe even 14, 15, 16 with the par 5 sandwiched in the middle, but nothing like we have here with La Quinta, right? It's almost a for sure birdie streak, right, between one of these two spots. And if it's not a for sure birdie streak, it's by far the lowest scoring average. So for the next day, right over here at Friday, a lot of our elite tier players are going to be playing on the Nicklaus course. So up top, you're going to have to take some of these Nicklaus tournament course guys. But in terms of your value plays, right, you should be taking them from the best course available. And that is clearly La Quinta. Again, kind of what we thought heading into the week. But now that we have the first rounds of data, there's not going to be any changes to pin locations, right? They keep them consistent for the first 3 days. And our weather looks almost identical. So there's no reason to think that we're going to see a massive difference between the two days and the scoring and the course that's the easiest. The only thing that's going to change is the talent level, which is why I think maybe La Quinta only plays about 4 under par right over here for round 2. And I do think that the Nicklaus course will probably play at least 3.5 under par. So maybe not the 1.2 stroke difference, right, that we had here for Thursday. But I still think La Quinta will edge out the Nicklaus tournament course there a little bit. In terms of our weather, we'll go through it in a second. We got the peach down there. It's going on. Great day for props, of course. And not so bad for our outright card either. We have a lot of guys in position, and I think our worst player is like a Sam Ryder, who's within the cut at this point, and played the Stadium course, which is the hardest of the bunch. So I'm feeling pretty good about that too. Let's talk about our weather situation, which once again looks next to ideal. We have, if we go over here to the HRRR, which will be the most accurate for this area, you'll see here on Friday, we have sub 6 mile an hour winds. Now they're teeing off at about 8:30 local. So they'll be finishing up around like, let's say 3, maybe 3:30 p.m. So for the last maybe hour or two, it looks like the winds are going to get a little bit higher. But if we're talking about winds getting higher and it's 6 miles an hour, right, we're nitpicking at the very best. Most tournaments, most days of golf, we would be absolutely thrilled by 6 miles an hour of wind. So once again, I don't think you're going to see much change in terms of your weather conditions. The only real differences you'll see with the scoring out here is, again, with the talent level that we were mentioning before. Let's hop over to the DFS side, talk through some of the strategy. And honestly, guys, for today, it's pretty straightforward. It's an edge to go out there, just play those Nicklaus and La Quinta guys, which even for Sanjay, right, for the Stadium course at only 12% ownership, Tom Kim, right, being a little bit overlooked because he's at the Stadium course, I'm not taking that plunge, right? It's not worth to take the guy playing on a course that's playing 2 strokes harder than the rest of the field. when you have Cantlay, right, you can take from the Nicholas. You've got Xander, Scotty, who we'll mention, Justin Thomas, all these elite tier birdie makers that looked pretty solid out there for Thursday too. So a lot of times, right, we want to take some of those ownership pivots, but try and take those pivots either within La Quinta or over there at the Nicholas tournament course. And like I mentioned off the bat, a lot of your top end players are playing on Nicholas. In fact, there's only 2 guys that are, I'd say 8,500 plus, right, that are playing on Stadium. I should say La Quinta, sorry. You have Eric Cole here, $8,900. You also JT Poston, right, playing on La Quinta. You can see that both of their ownership numbers are inflated because of that, right? People aren't dumb. They're going to see the scoring averages. They're going to know to play the guys at La Quinta. But the guys at the Nicholas tournament course are all average of the ownership, right? Like Scotty, Cantlay's, Xander are all right around their 4-round ownership numbers. Even JT, right, isn't much higher round than what he was for 4-round contest. Whereas all the steam that's coming off of a Sungjae and a Tom Kim are going on to Poston and then down here to Eric Cole. So I think you're going to see some chalk on these La Quinta guys up top. You're going to get chalk by default on some of these Nicholas tournament course players. But essentially just pick your favorite, right? I prefer taking the elite level talents, right, that are playing on a slightly harder golf course than forcing in a chalky JT Poston, then forcing in a chalky Eric Cole. And I can tell you that in single entries, higher dollar kind of contests, that Eric Cole and guys like JT Poston are going to be even higher owned than what you have in the large field GPP. So let's say you're playing in the big $20 rate. These are mostly set up for like the $5 kind of GPPs. Even if you're playing in the $20, you might see 25, even 30% ownership on a JT Poston. And then down here with Eric Cole, you're going to see 30, maybe 35% ownership in some of those large field contests. So it's a interesting ownership dynamic, right? You're going to see people start to play that course edge. Where you're not going to see it as much as with these Nicholas guys, which is why I think they're probably the nuts up top. Outside of your 8K range, down towards the bottom of the board, I'm almost exclusively taking La Quinta players. So, for example, like a Bo Hostler, right, coming in at relatively low ownership. Sam Ryder, right, mentioned him. -3 at the Stadium course was better than the average there. And I've already seen a few people on Twitter like, oh, Sam Ryder week's not going so well. Well, he beat the field average. He gained a stroke to the field. He's within the current cut line and now gets to play La Quinta in the Nicholas course. So for anyone out there that was early victory lapping, right, somebody having an average day with a Sam Ryder, get ready to get your back blown out. Let's say that much, because there's a good chance he goes out there and shoots 10 under par, right, at La Quinta. It's that course. It's the course that was playing 4.5 under par. I think a lot of those people that were, again, early victory lapping out there with the Sam Ryder are going to unfortunately be a little bit disappointed for fading him this week. You have guys like Adam Schenk playing on La Quinta, right? Again, -2 doesn't look all that great compared to the -6s, -7s around him, but he was playing the Stadium course, the most difficult of the bunch. So again, if people are going to hold, grudges against these sort of players, now that they're going to be going to the course that's wide open, then let them do that, right? Let them make that mistake. Patton Kizzire, another extremely popular pick heading into the week. Another guy that was being bashed on yesterday that shot one worse than the field average, right? Like, I feel like people just don't look at the leaderboard, right? They don't even know the 3-course setup. They go out there and start saying things on Twitter. And luckily for us, those are the people we're playing against for Showdown, right? Luckily, those are the guys we're playing against for our 4-round contests, making absolute brain dead takes. So I like Patton Kizzire. I didn't like him heading into the week. Thought he was a little bit too chalky, but now we can get him at sub 5% on the Nuts golf course. Absolutely going to go after it. Let's see. In terms of other value plays, right, Harry Hall did not play well, but I'll go there on La Quinta. Somebody that can get hot in a hurry with a putter. Lee Hodges. We'll go through some of the more plays later on after we go through our whole player pool, but that's the idea, right? La Quinta with our value plays, right, attack that soft golf course. And then up top, I think you have to take a little bit of a different approach, right? Like, I'd want to play JT Poston, would want to play an Eric Cole, but unfortunately, they're going to be inflated ownership. Again, I think even these numbers are a little bit conservative. I think we could see that 25, 30% on both, and it wouldn't surprise me all that much. Let's see. We got Samuel. What's going on? Hopefully you're doing well. We got NFT over here says, am I hesitant to play a Xander or a Cantlay? No, I'm not. So this golf tournament is going to be won at like 30 under par. So no, right? And they're not even ahead of the field, right? They're like -8. The leaders out there at -10. No, I don't worry about that at this kind of golf tournament. If it was a US Open, for sure, right? I'd be worrying about guys kind of taking a more conservative approach. But to win here, you're going to have to get to 25, 30 under par. probably closer to 30 under par. And they only care about winning, right? They could not give a rat's ass about finishing top 5, top 10. So maybe your first round leaders, right? Zach Johnson, for example, now that he's playing on a slightly harder golf course, might have to tone it back a little bit, right? Because the top 10 for him is season changing, right? It gets them into a lot larger fields. It's going to give them that momentum early in the year. Whereas Cantlay, Xander, right? If they're not in the top 5, top 10, they'd rather not even be at this golf tournament. So, yeah, not at this event, would say. Will you recommend starting on hole number 1 from the stadium course to differentiate your lineups? No, I would not, Sam. I think if you're playing guys from the stadium course, you're doing the wrong thing today. If you're playing Scotty, even though he has La Quinta course today, you're saying Stallings, sorry. And I agree with you on that one, right? So unlike, a Cantlay or a Xander, right, that are these elite tier players, Stallings has quite a bit to lose, right? He played well over there at the stadium course. In fact, he had the best round of anyone that played on the stadium course yesterday. And he's -8 playing on the easy golf course. But this is what worries me, right? It's the 7.1% ownership. It's the fact that he had a ceiling round yesterday. That is a lot more concerning to me than what you were mentioning with like Xander and Cantlay, right? Like they're expected to go low, right? They're expected to be winning this golf tournament. Not so much for a $6,900 Scott Stallings. So yeah, totally agree with you there. The ownership's not too out of hand, I have to say. Like, if this was round 4 Showdown and you had somebody up there in the top 5, they'd be like 15% owned, but still 7% compared to 1.1%, 1.5, or even the 2.7% owned Lee Hodges. It's a little bit of a tough scene, right? And it's not like we don't have guys playing La Quinta around him, right? Like we have Lee Hodges right here that we can take on the La Quinta course. And on top of that, Hodges has torn up the La Quinta course. Like he's been an absolute flusher. He's had some of his lowest rounds at this event at La Quinta. And if you guys remember, he's been in contention here before. So and a lot of that because of how he's played at La Quinta. So yeah, there are other options to get to. Up top, there's not really other options, right? You've got to take some of the studs. Almost all of them have played well after round 1. So it kind of depends on which range you're in. But great question. Let me get some coffee in me. It's early. I was up to like 2 playing Counter-Strike too. So we're dealing on fumes here, but we'll live with it. We'll survive. And it's no one's fault but my own. We're staying up and playing Counter-Strike, but that game's damn fun. So that's why we were up. All right, let's go through a few other players up here. So I know we kind of skipped around a little bit. I already mentioned JT. Guy did not miss a shot yesterday, so I'm definitely going back there. In terms of our like 8K players, lower 9K, Sam Burns loves this green surface. You can see this POA overseed. He's one of the best putters in the field. And on top of that, was not making anything yesterday. So I like him for today. Just a high upside birdie maker that I'm almost always playing in Showdown to begin with. You have Wyndham Clark down here, same thing. Now, I don't know anything about his round. We didn't have any sort of coverage there. We didn't have anyone on Twitter, like a Justin Thomas tracker like we had yesterday. And Ricky Fowler, too. I want to point him out. There's Ricky down here at, $8,200. The Ricky Fowler tracker was following Ricky yesterday. He also had a Justin Thomas tracker that was following him. JT made those 6 straight birdies, obviously had the putter working, but the rest of the round, he was hitting the ball to like 10 feet all day, 10, 15 feet, was not making very much. You had a guy like Ricky down here, $8,200, do the same thing, except he missed multiple putts of sub 5 feet for birdie. He had a couple lip outs that they mentioned on the tracker. And then he had 3 putts that literally ended up within a half an inch of the hole, right? Just bled it up to the hole, end up falling in. Ricky Fowler is going to start making some putts, right? He likes this course. He's from down the road in Marietta, California. They said Marietta, Georgia on his intro yesterday, which I found quite humorous. But he's only 5.7% owned. Fan favorite, and I know, right? -2 looks horrible, right? On La Quinta, right? It was about 2 strokes worse than the field average. He could easily go off today, right? And if people are going to hold that against him and essentially make him unowned, then I'm all for that. So I like that with Ricky, and guys like Wyndham Clark fit that same kind of picture. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Love the Patreon. Thanks for everything you do, of course. And thank you for being a Patreon member. Right? It goes a long way with helping me support the channel. Appreciate you. Let's get after it. What's going on, Austin? My boy Bruntune down there. If anyone needs MMA locks, my boy Austin's got you. He's a sharp when it comes to the MMA stuff. Akshay Bhatia is another bounce back candidate, right? Kind of like Ricky, shot -2 at La Quinta, and has been absolutely filling it up, right? Last year was a top 20 birdie maker on tour, has gone off to an even hotter start here in 2024. So the fact that he's sub 10% owned are the types of players that I like to get to. So you can see up here, right? It's a lot of these Nicklaus guys because the best players are playing on the Nicklaus course today. But as soon as we get down into the sevens, it's like a switch goes off, right? We immediately start looking at these La Quinta guys. You could take some Nicklaus down here. I have to say, like a Justin Suh, for example, I'm still playing today, but my options on the Nicklaus course are much less prevalent down there in the 6 and 7K range than what we had up top. And again, a lot of that is because of the pricing. Thoughts on Chris Kirk? He's playing the Nicklaus course, right? So I think that's okay. Only 11.5% ownership. I've got to say, I don't love Chris Kirk for showdown type of contests because he typically doesn't have the birdie production we're looking for. Is a little bit more of a par first player, right? Really good at not bogeying a bunch of holes. And in showdown, we're more so looking for that birdie upside. So I don't hate the play, right? He's low owned, so he can actually give you a little bit of leverage. Just not my favorite type of showdown player, right? I'm more looking for an aggressive type of guy as opposed to a little bit more of a conservative player with Chris Kirk. All right, any other questions? Just let me know on players. We'll hop back into it. But down here in the 7K range, I want to point out some of the guys to avoid. So guys I think you might want to avoid. So would be, stadium course guys that are getting a little bit popular. Adam Hadwin, right, playing the stadium course. He's a little bit popular. Not too popular that you have to fade him, but I don't love that he's up there at that kind of ownership level. We already mentioned Scott Stallings, right? He's getting some attention on the stadium course. Even like an Alex Smalley, right? Like he's stadium, he's on the worst course. He's also 6.4% owned. Like let people make that mistake, right? Let people go out there and play a guy on a course that's 2 strokes harder. Just not the plus EV move, right? Like if you do that for your whole player pool, you're going to lose your hat today. You're going to lose like all your money. And we don't want to be those people. Again, the guys that are trashing Sam Ryder on Twitter after beating the field average are the ones we want to make that mistake, right? The ones that are brain dead, sub 40 IQ type of people. Don't be the sub 40 IQ person today that plays guys on the stadium course. Just don't be that guy, right? Let other people make that mistake and let them pay you out there on showdown contests. Don't be the one paying the rake. Make them pay it. Let's see. Any other guys I want to point out? We talked about Hodges a little bit. Blanto Griffin, another guy who's historically killed it at La Quinta. And down low, I really like these hot putters, right? So you can see up here, Harry Hall, right? He had a horrible round 1, but I'm getting there because he's one of the best putters in this field. Now, on this POA overseed, he doesn't have much of a sample. You can see he's right about a neutral. Hopefully he can have that spike round for us. Lanto Griffin, we could say the same thing about, right? Another guy who kind of struggled, who can get hot with the putter. Mark Hubbard, an extremely streaky iron player. So it's a little bit less about the putting with Hubbard than it is the approach play that can get hot. But Hayden Buckley, right? He's a high birdie percentage guy right down here in the 6K range. Harrison Endicott got a bunch of attention heading into the week. Once again, didn't have the worst round, right? He shot -2. I mean, we don't want to crucify a guy for shooting -2. And he's at only 2% ownership. So there are guys the whole way down to $6,100 that I'm playing today. And the one I'll give you here is Peter Malnati, right? Another player that is extremely streaky. Kind of the opposite of a Chris Kirk, right? He either goes out there, shoots like a -5, -6, or like 5 or 6 over par. That's what I'm looking for at La Quinta, right? It's an easy course. Added little bonuses that Peter Malnati is a damn good putter. And you can see on this POA overseed, gains about a half a stroke per round. It's just the icing on top for that sort of play. So there are a lot of 6K guys I'm playing, a lot of that so I can fit in some extra players up top. I love Scotty, I have to say. I didn't really mention him up here, but I had him down as a yes. He made nothing for round 1. I mean, he was missing a lot of those 5-10 footers. Even his ball striking wasn't really up to snuff. He had a lot of those like 10 footers for birdie all day. He's going to hit some balls closer. Can almost guarantee you that. He had a out of bounds ball yesterday. He's probably not going to do that again. And again, he was missing all those 5 footers. This was about the worst round that Scotty could have had, and he shot 5 under par, right? So that's why I'm getting there on the Nicklaus tournament course. And the fact that he's only 23% owned, I think is a massive, massive mistake. Like at this point, Scotty is built different. I think we have to treat him like he is on a tier of his own out there. Even in like major championships, right? Like Scotty should probably be $1,000 more expensive than the next highest priced guy. Now that's the case here for Showdown, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. good job by DraftKings to do that. But in majors, right, he's probably going to be like $400 more than your next highest price, right? We'll probably have Rory up there in the 11K range. Heck, Brooks might even be 11K for our majors this year because of how he's been playing in them. And I think Scotty might be a 12K golfer in these major championship type of fields. So just, wanted to mention that because I didn't go over it before, but Scotty Scheffler looks like an absolute smash play. Let's see. Has anyone been paid out for DraftKings Showdown? I didn't play DraftKings Showdown, so I can't tell you, but maybe someone down in chat can help you. Anyone under 6K to consider? There's no one under 6K this week. How about Cole? I'm okay with it. The issue I have with Eric Cole, right, is I think his ownership is going to be higher than I expect. So I've got him at this 20.4% number, but a lot of the contests that I'll be playing for today are going to be high dollar single entries, like the $100 single entry, $200 single entry, or where my exposure is right now. And in that contest, I think he's going to be 35% owned, right? Like the sharper you are, the less of a slapdick you are when you're playing DFS, the more you're going to lean into this course edge, right? And the only guys up here that are La Quinta are Eric Cole and JT Poston. So if you're in a large field GPP, you can probably still get away with playing either one. But if you're in like a higher dollar GPP, I have a feeling that they're going to be mega chalk today, right? And Poston included, right? On top of an Eric Cole. So if you're playing cash contests, I love it. If you played them in week long like I did, I love it. But for round 2 Showdown, it feels like the optimal plays are like a Sam Burns, right? Who if we're going to get a 30% into Eric Cole, Sam Burns is probably going to be at half that ownership, maybe even a little bit less than that. Chris Kirk even, right? It would be like a third of the ownership compared to an Eric Cole. I'd rather take that chance. And if he goes out there and kills it for Showdown, then that's okay, right? Because we have him for week long and a bunch of outrights and stuff. I like Endicott at La Quinta today to fit more stars and scrubs. Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, absolutely. Any of these guys that played well, right, or were like popular for 4-round contests, I love getting back to, right? So you have an Endicott down here. Pan Kazire, right, is another one that was pretty popular for like your 4-round contests. And now he's 4.5% owned, right? So I like that. Likes this course, likes the surface, right? Gains about a third of a stroke per round on that POA overseed. That's kind of what I'm looking for in a player here. You can say the same thing about Adam Schenk, right? Another guy that gains about a third of a stroke per round on the POA overseed. The approach numbers have been really good for Schenk of late. Sam Ryder just, play the guys on La Quinta down low that were chalk and didn't have the best first round. I think that's a good strategy for it. Let's build a few lineups together, and then afterwards we'll go over some props. So let me bring up DraftKings. We'll bring up the lineup builder and show you guys how to put together some lineups. DK has not paid out yet. Okay, good to know. Good morning. Any lean on Fishburne as a last man in for a cash game? Considering I don't know who Patrick Fishburne is, I couldn't recommend him for a cash game. So no take there, Carolina. I don't know enough about him. If we're going to look at his shots gained metrics, which I can do, I can bring up for you and give us an idea of how he played for round 1. But he's one of the new guys to the tour. Actually, he might even be like a sponsor exemption that I know nothing about. So I don't really have a take for you, but let's look at his stats, right? All right, so he played Stadium Course round 1. He played pretty well. Okay. He looks old as fuck. Are we sure this guy's new? I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. No shots gained metrics, obviously, because he was playing Stadium, so they should have the shots gained metrics. Does Data Golf have them up? If anyone's going to have them still up, the shots gained metrics, it's going to be Data Golf. Let's see. Live course stats. They don't even have it up for this week. They do. And let's find Mr. Fishburne. You shot -3. Yeah, it looks like they have them up. So 1 second here. We'll look at it. Because other than these stats, I have no idea who the hell this guy is, to be completely frank with you. All right, so he lost strokes putting. He lost strokes around the green. He gained on approach and was neutral off the tee. This tells us nothing, right? I mean, everything's close to within a stroke of neutral. Shit, I don't know. If you want to play him in your cash lineup, go for it. But I would not, right? I don't even know who the hell the guy is, to be completely frank with you. All right, let's talk about some cash plays. We'll do that first, and then we'll talk through some GPP lineup construction. So in terms of building a cash lineup for today, you want only La Quinta guys, like literally only guys playing on La Quinta, which means we're going to have to double check over on the other tab to make sure we're only taking guys there. So if you're going to start with a Poston and Eric Cole, you do it in cash, right? You take the guys playing on the easiest course. Maybe you want to spend a little bit more of your salary. So maybe you go Eric Cole and then go up here and take like a Scotty Scheffler, or maybe even go ahead and take like a Patrick Cantlay, right? One of the guys on the Nicklaus course. And then for your other 4 spots, only taking guys in La Quinta. So just to find a few names around here. Let's see. I don't think many guys in this 8K range at La Quinta. So let's go down here to the 7s. I know we have Hostler on La Quinta today. I know we have Sam Ryder on La Quinta. So let's throw those 2 in there. And let's find one more cash play on La Quinta. Adam Schenk, right? All guys that are hitting the ball well in approach with the Hostler, Ryder, and Schenk. Eric Cole's playing La Quinta is enough said type of play, right? He's probably at least $1,500 too cheap. Actually, we'll say at least $1,000. $1,500 is probably a little much, but he's $1,000 too cheap there with Eric Cole. And then the one Nicklaus course guy we have, and I feel like you almost have to play a Nicklaus course guy to try and spend all of your salary. Would be like a Cantlay, a Scotty, a Xander. You could even say a JT right over there at $9,600 are the types of players that you want to take a chance on up top. So obviously we can't go through an entire lineup, right? That is against the DraftKings term of service. But these are the types of guys I'd be looking at, right? Mostly La Quinta, mostly guys that are hitting the ball well in approach for the last 2-3 months. In terms of a GPP lineup, right, there's not that much chalk I'm playing, so I don't really have to think that much about my ownership. So if I'm going to start with like a JT, maybe make my second man in a Sam Burns, go down here, throw in a Wyndham Clark, just by taking these 3 players alone are going to get me different enough, right? They've got a slightly lower owned JT, right, compared to some of the other guys up top. Sam Burns is like 14-15%. And then Wyndham Clark is sub 9% ownership, right? So pretty much no matter who we're taking down here in the 7s, especially because I'm avoiding a lot of that chalk, I'm not going to have to worry about very much. So maybe we'll throw a Hostler in there, Akshay Bhatia, right, playing the Nicklaus course, and then round it off with pretty much whoever the hell we want. So for my GPP process, because I'm being pretty differentiated about it, and especially, and I'd say like if you're playing a Poston or a Cole in your GPP lineups, then you're going to have to start to think about ownership. But if you're fading these 2, it's real straightforward to go ahead and put together lineups. Hell, you could even just run your optimizer, not even set any rules, and just build lineups. And I think you'd be good to go, right? You're not going to have crazy product ownership if you're avoiding these 2 players. Because the issue with taking like an Eric Cole and a JT Poston, let's say that you wanted to take one other guy up here, let's say like a Justin Thomas, right, as your 9K player. Now you've got this 15-16%er mixed up with like 2 guys that are going to be 20% plus. And if this is a higher dollar single entry, these guys might be about 30% ownership, which means our last 3 spots, we're going to have to be mega different, right? Like we might have to force in a Justin Suh on the Nicklaus course just to get a guy who's sub 2% owned. Here in the mid-tier range, right, we can't really take the same rider that we want to play today, right? He's got a little bit of ownership behind him. We have to force in a mega pivot, right? Out there, he's like sub 5% owned. I just don't like that, right? So I know somebody mentioned before, like, Cole potentially being a play. I like him today. He projects pretty well. It's just what it does to the rest of your lineup, right? I want to take some of these guys up here that are just good players, right? I want to spend up for these 9-10K guys. And if I'm going to do that, it's going to make my product ownership a lot higher than where I want it. So that's my take for lineup construction. I think just by, kind of fading some of those guys going to be 30%, you're going to have a pretty decent day. Is there an ideal sum ownership? I do it based on product ownership, and I cater it based on the contest I'm entering. So ideally, I try and make it so that I'm going to duplicate myself with less than 1 lineup in theory. So in a 20,000 entry contest, that means my product ownership has to be a whole lot lower than what it would be for, say, in like a $100 single entry, right? Because in a $100 single entry, if I only want to duplicate with 1 or less different entries out there, I need to be 1% product ownership, which is not hard to do. 1% product ownership is about as easy as it gets. You can play chalk at like 3 spots and still get a lineup that has sub 1% product ownership. Whereas if I'm playing in a 20,000 entry contest, right, and I need that to be closer to like 0.05%, it takes a lot more, right? I have to put in probably 4 pivots into that kind of lineup. So it depends, Sam. It depends on what contest I'm entering. Whitney has been here for years, but he finally got his card. Any thought on him? Don't really have any thoughts. I don't know a bunch about Whitney. I heard on the telecast yesterday that he's a talented guy and to look out for him. So that's about all I know about Whitney. What course is he playing? Let me find that for you. I know he's cheap, right? He's relatively new, so he'll be cheap. He's on La Quinta. I could see it. Now, if you want to be early on a Tom Whitney, he's only $6,100 playing La Quinta, shot -6 in round one. I could see it. What did you miss? Missed a lot, Nick. You can go back and watch it on replay, but yeah, we went over weather, some game theory and stuff. To give you the Spark Notes version, we're playing guys in La Quinta down low, right? It's the easiest golf course. Up top, it's not as straightforward because there's not many guys playing in La Quinta. And I think Poston and Cole are going to be really chalky as the only two guys playing on La Quinta. So I'm playing the Nicklaus guys up top, like with Scotties, the Cantlays of the world, that sort of thing. And then as soon as I get down to the 6 and 7K range, it's almost all guys on La Quinta. There are a few guys on Nicklaus I'm mixing in, like a Justin Suh, like some super low-owned players. But that's the Spark Notes version. Play guys on La Quinta, play guys on Nicklaus, and print money today. Let's go Cole and Postman. Good luck with that, dude. We got the chalk monster down here, just like the cookie monster, just eating up all the chalk. You be that guy. Someone has to do it. Someone's got to make the guy chalk. So it's not going to be me. Go ahead and make it you. I could care less. I'm just giving you my take on this slate. You can do whatever you want with it. In fact, I'd rather you not listen to me. Go out there and make some mistakes. That works for me. Let's talk through some props over here in Underdog now. So if you're just joining us, you're getting a little bit late here. Conditions are going to be very similar to what we had in round one. In terms of your weather conditions, they're almost identical no matter which model we're looking at on here. So you can see sub 4%, I was going to say sub 4% ownership. Thinking way too much about the GPPs right now. Sub 4 mile-an-hour winds over here on this model. Icon model, the same thing. You can see the wind gusts get into like the 10 mile-an-hour range towards the end of the day. But if we're looking at 10 mile-an-hour wind gusts, there's nothing out there, right? I mean, it's pretty much perfect still conditions, which means we could use these averages from round one. We can't use them as gospel, but we can use them as a pretty good guideline out here for round two. And based on what we're seeing on this Underdog and Prize Picks board, you're going to have to be really selective about your value. They've priced the boards pretty well. I'm mostly only going to try and take guys on La Quinta and the Nicklaus course. The guys they have on here, like a Minwoo that's playing the stadium course, even guys like a Tom Kim, I think have really efficient projections, right? Projecting them at 67.5 is exactly where I'd put them. 5.5 birdies is pretty much exactly where I'd put a lot of those players. Where the edge is going to be on the prop side is taking the guys playing the easier golf courses. So just giving you guys an idea, the La Quinta in round one played to over a 5.5 birdie or better average. Over here on the Nicklaus tournament course, it played to a 5.34 birdie or better average. So it's over a 5 birdie average, which means for an elite tier player, right, like a Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, or maybe even a Scotty Scheffler here at 6.5 birdies, project over that mark. And in fact, let me go ahead and bring up FanDuel for you guys, give you guys some comparisons when it comes to the odds. Scotty Scheffler last night was -165 for over 6.5 birdies. So that tells you how easy they expect these conditions to play and how it's going to work out. So let me bring up FanDuel Sportsbook and show you guys what we're talking about. So over here with Scotty Scheffler, you can see they've got him at 6.5 birdies or better, and he's -165 towards the over. Now, that's not a prop that I took over here on the Underdog side, but that should give us pretty good perspective, right, on how to take guys like a Tony Finau, for example. So let's see. Do they have Finau's birdies up here? They may have added it since last night. Let's see. Doesn't look like they did. Okay, there you go. Right, he's at 6.5 birdies, right? So he's an entire birdie higher than where they have him there in Underdog. He is juiced -175 towards the under, but that means he should be projecting for at least 6 birdies, right? Maybe slightly under 6 if you're going to take that juice and bump him down there a little bit. But he's at 5.5 in an Underdog. So you could potentially take that as an over. I like taking an over on a guy like a Patrick Cantlay or down here with a Xander Schauffele. Both of them played well in round one. They're also really solid putters. So the reason why I preferred them or maybe taking like a Tony Finau is that they're more consistent with the flat stick, right? They're better at converting out there on the birdie opportunities. So we'll go ahead and throw those two in there. And then in terms of pairings, I took some rivals matchups for my pairings, and they yanked both of them off the board, which I hardly even play these rivals matchups. In fact, I only play them when I have to over here for the Underdog side. And the fact that the first time that I post 2 of these matchups that they get yanked off the board just shows how criminal that Underdog can be. And just to give you guys an idea of what I entered, I'll just show you here. Fuck Tom Kim, by the way. He was like he was the only prop that missed from our video yesterday, which was tilting. And especially because it's the only one that's still on here, was a little bit annoying. But I took these two. So I took the Xander prop over 6, like I mentioned. I took this Patrick Cantlay over 6, like I was mentioning before, and then matched them up with these rivals props that you just can't take. They're not there anymore, unfortunately. It was Daniel Berger against Grayson Murray. Berger looks like he's back. I should have mentioned that when we went through the player poll, right? Daniel Berger is one of my boys. He's one of my favorite players in the world. And the fact that he looked so good yesterday was really encouraging for any of his fans like me. So I liked that. In terms of the simulation odds, actually, I can't show that from Data Golf, right? It's one of their paid tools. But on Data Golf, you can run head-to-head custom simulations. And Daniel Berger won or pushed this like 62% of the time. So that's probably why they took the prop off. The only way that Underdog would know that, though, is if one of them is subscribing to my Patreon page, which I find kind of funny. So it's almost a given that they subscribe to the Patreon, that they saw the write-up on that, because I think that's why they took them off the board. So love that for Daniel Berger, but mostly looking at these birdie props. Then the other one I took was this Hostler versus Doug Gim. And once again, this was I think a 59.7% hit rate. In terms of either hitting or pushing out there for Beau Hossler. If this line was on a book, right, these would probably both be like minus 150 odds sort of plays, maybe even closer to minus like 175 in terms of odds for the plays. So that's why I went with them for a little bit of a pairing there. The issue is with Underdog, and it was the issue for round 1. It's going to be the same issue for round 2, is trying to find these pairings, because the strokes props make no sense, right? It's a par 72. And they have guys like Tony Finau at 5 under par, despite only having a 5.5 birdie or better projection. So clearly one of the two is wrong, right? They're not only going to make 0.5 bogeys per round, which is why I find it so tough to make slips over here. Like they've got Scotty at 66.5, right, over there in Prize Picks, which we're going to talk about here in a second. I actually like that under on Scotty at 66.5, but at 66 strokes, there's no value there, right? There's no sort of value to squeeze. We're not getting anything that's going to be like 55, 60% in our favor. So I didn't enter much, right? These were the two slips I entered. I mean, you saw my exposure right there. And now that we don't have the rivals matchups, there's not that much we can do. So what I told a lot of my Patreon people from round 1, right, was to take these birdie or better props and mix them in with other sports. So if you're somebody that, plays other sports, and actually I'm sponsored by one of these optimizers now, so I can go ahead and just go over some of these plays with you. We'll find some plays on the DGF optimizer. There's somebody that I recently paired with a couple weeks ago. Haven't really found a way to incorporate them onto the channel because we haven't been doing NFL stuff. But now that we're on here, right, trying to find some pairings for these golf guys, you can take a look at this optimizer. So if you guys aren't familiar with how this works, they post odds. They give you guys the different odds boards to compare to. And you can see their favorite props, Christian McCaffrey under. I will not be betting that. There's no chance in hell that I'm taking an under on CMC. The reason why I say that, I'm not trying to be a dick about that prop, right, is I don't fade star players, right? And you don't have to take everything that you see on this optimizer. In fact, I do far from that, right? I kind of pick and choose what I want to take off of here. So let's find a good one. So this Joel Embiid prop's probably not too bad. He's at 2.5 in most books. He is juiced towards the over, as you can see with the odds over there, but you're getting a lot of push equity for the under. Again, he's a stud, so you probably fade that. Just don't play it either way. Christian McCaffrey receptions, yeah, I'm probably fading that too. Again, I'm just not taking an under on CMC. It's not the smartest move. Let's say that much. Honestly, any of these unders on star players, you don't really want to take. Let's see. So they got Jonas Valanciunas. Like this one's not a bad one, right? You got like minus 142 odds, minus 135 odds over there, 8.5. Check out this optimizer if you guys have access to it. If not, right, look at an odds board, try and figure out what we can get to. But look at this Mikal Bridges one, right? He's minus 160 on Pinnacle for the under. I have to say my sharp book that I use for my comparison, at least for NBA stuff, is Pinnacle. And I actually use it for NFL as well. Pinnacle is one of the sharper books out there because of the kind of limits that they don't set on players. And because they don't limit players as much as other books, they have to be sharper, right? Or they're going to lose their hat, go out there, get exploited by a lot of the pro bettors, which is why I trust their odds more than like a DraftKings and a FanDuel that limit all their winning bettors, right? If you're a sports book and you're limiting all the guys that are winning, that tells me that you don't feel very good about your projections, that you don't have confidence, right, in what you're doing as a company. Whereas like a Circa, for example, so if you're looking at player props, the sharpest book in existence is Circa out there in Las Vegas. Now, the issue with them, right, is they know they're sharp, right? They try and run it as an operation without limiting people. So they don't post as much, right? They know their limitations, right? They know that they can only offer so much to make sure that it's as sharp as humanly possible. So if there's a place to compare, it's mostly Circa. I can almost assure you that they're not going to have a McCall Bridges points prop up though. So the one we're going with here is this minus 160. So if you're going to pair anything here, I already entered a slip, so I don't need to do this myself, right? But it would be like this McCall Bridges under, which it looks like it just got bumped. It did. That's unfortunate. All right, that's the other thing with these optimizers is stuff tends to move fast. So let's go ahead and refresh it. So yeah, it looks like they took that one off the board. That was by far my favorite too. That's unfortunate. The reason why I liked that one more than this Valanciunas prop, right, is the minus 160 was on Pinnacle, which again, I think is the sharpest book out there. So we'll find something. Give me a few minutes here. Got a few questions I want to go over. Exactly what you did, so you're okay. Perfect, Nick. You played Minwoo from the stadium course because you're a Minwoo slut. Yeah, I get that, right? If Jordan Spieth was playing the stadium course, I'd be doing the same thing. Any ideas to why DK hasn't paid out from yesterday? Probably because of scoring. So the scoring is so off, right? They had so many scores that were changing. I mean, Sungjae Im had a birdie that was taken away and then given back to him at some point. They took the shot tracker down completely, right? Even for the guys on the stadium course. It's probably because they're making sure there's no stat changes, right? They want to make sure that all the data is as accurate as humanly possible, because even a one birdie difference or even like a one bogey difference could take somebody from the winning GPP lineup to like second place, right? In your case, Nick, it might take you from like sixth place in your GPP up to like third or fourth, right? So you might get a stat correction that helps you out. It's probably because of that. It's because of the crazy scoring. I mean, look at this. We had guys on the stadium course and we can't even like look at their shot. Oh, they just added it back. Look at that. I start complaining about shot tracker and then we finally get it back. So it's probably because they didn't have this up, right? Like all last night, if you clicked on a player, it was just blank. It wouldn't even show you their shot trails. I'm assuming that they're going through it. They're double checking the data right now. They're probably going to pay it out pretty soon. How the hell did he made a par from there? What the fuck? No, okay. I was going to say that was incorrect on there. This is the issue that they have, right? Their first shot this guy hit was to right here where this 2 is, and his second shot was next to the pin here, and then third was in. They're not even showing this hole correctly. So this is why they haven't paid out yet, is because their shot tracker does shit like this that makes absolutely no sense. That's why they haven't paid. Let's find you guys a pairing for this prop. I feel bad that they took the McCall Bridges off. Maybe one of you guys got it before it got taken off. Who knows? Maybe that's why it got taken off, because one of you guys bet it. Let's find another like minus 160. In fact, I'm just going to sort this by Pinnacle, and we're just going to look at NBA. I'm not a CS2 or a Call of Duty better. I don't really bet on college basketball either. So let's just look at NBA, and we're not going to look at NFL because that doesn't start till Saturday, right? I don't think people want to wait a day to wait on the sweat. So we'll just look at NBA stuff. So in terms of the most juice on a prop here, we've got it's minus 148 on this Bam Adebayo. He's at 39.5 on a few books though. He's at down 38.5 on FanDuel. Okay, that's a good data point. What is that? Bet Online. Bovada still got him at 39.5. You could take this under on Bam. I don't think it's the worst pick. Let's look at a few others here though. Who's he playing? See, I can do some matchup stuff too. Who is Bam playing against? Ooh, he's playing against Atlanta. Atlanta's a high-paced team. Atlanta has a lot of three-point shooters, which means they're going to be chucking up threes, which means more rebound opportunities for Bam. Okay, I don't like that one as much. I used to be a big NBA DFS person. I used to play it every day. It used to be my moneymaker. I don't do it anymore as I just don't have the time investment to be able to put into it. But yeah, I'd probably avoid that one because of the matchup. At least based on what I used to do, the Atlanta Hawks just throw up threes. Maybe they're not like that this year. I haven't been paying as much attention, but I'm going to avoid that one just for my own sake. Jimmy Butler points isn't horrible, but it's not great either. Damn, that McCall Bridges prop was absolute money. This Drew Holiday assists might actually be the move. So you can see on here, it's like minus 130 or more juice on most of these books. And it's pretty consistent at that number. So if you're going to take anything, right? You want to try and find one of these props on here that's juiced heavily in your favor across a multitude of books, right? Not just on one book out there. You want to find one that is pretty consistent across the board. And that's what you're getting with this Drew Holiday prop. So let's go ahead and just make that the pairing for right now. Again, I'm not going to need to enter this because I did have that Rivals matchup as my pairing, but this is how I would attack the Underdog board, right? Try and find some plus EV plays. If you want to get access to this yourself, if you use the code Gsluke, you will get a discount on any membership that you're going with. But yeah, just try and find some plus EV stuff. Underdog are absolute bitches for what they do with their correlation rules. I hear that they're working on changing it. I'm hearing that they're working on like payout shifting out there for golf slips, which means we're probably going to be able to take like 2 overs on birdies together again. But who knows what kind of price we're going to get, right? They might make it like a 2.5x payout, which if they do that, it's going to be even worse. So we'll see what they end up running with out there for the golf side, but that's what I would stick to on Underdog. In terms of prize picks exposure, some unders on strokes I like. So rather than having it completely mispriced over there in Underdog for strokes, prize pick is doing it a little bit better. Kazire on one contest is showing +2 in one of your contests. Let's double check. Yeah, that's what I mean with the scoring, right? It's like completely fucked. Let's see what they have it on here, right? So on the PGA site, they've got him at -1. They'll probably fix that, right? They'll have to go back, change it, get him to whatever his actual score is. And who knows if it's -1 or the +2. The +2 could be accurate. The -1 could be accurate. I've honestly got no idea. What's going on, man? Did I get tickets to the Florida swing? I haven't gotten my tickets yet, Jason. But I'll be at the Cognizant Classic. My mom will be getting me free tickets there. They're one of the bigger sponsors, so that's how I get into there every single year. Players Championship, I'm 100% going to. I've committed to that. So we've got the Cognizant Classic, aka Honda Classic. I'm going to Players Championship. I'm probably going to go to API for Saturday, Sunday. API is only like a 2.5-hour drive. I go up there on Saturday, watch the play. Stay at maybe my aunt's house. I have some family that lives up there in Orlando. Go to Sunday and then come home. So that's an economical trip, right? It's not going to cost me very much. So we're probably doing that. And then we'll see. We'll see about the West Coast. We'll see whether I'm going to Tampa. I'm over there for Valspar, but I might. Yeah, the pricing's crazy, right? Play any team versus the Detroit Pistons. Yes, they suck this year, huh? What did they lose? Like 28 straight games. And then all that. How funny is that? When they won their first game, all the money was on them to win, and sportsbooks got absolutely bent over. I mean, that was crazy. Just changed the -1. Yeah, so they're fixing it currently. You'll be at the Waste Management in 2 weeks. Have fun, dude. That's a bucket list one for me. It's I'm gonna try and go one of these years out there out west. I'm gonna try and do it around the Super Bowl though. So when they're actually playing over there in Arizona, I'm going to try and make it a year where it's a double whammy, where I can go out there for the Waste Management and then go to the Super Bowl on Sunday. That sounds like a hell of a weekend. So have fun out there, man. That should be a heck of a time. All right, let's go over these prize picks plays. So my number one prize picks play, and it's not close, is this Justin Thomas under. If we go over here to FanDuel Sportsbook, we can actually just look at his odds, and he was -150 last night. So let me find JT. I know he's on here somewhere. There's Justin Lauer. We need the other Justin, the better Justin. And they have this locked on here, actually. Interesting. So you can't even bet on strokes over here on FanDuel right now. I guess we'll bring up Draftkings. He was also -150 on Draftkings. So it's not like it's going to change a whole lot for us here. So let me bring that up, share my screen, and we'll make a little prize pick slip. Where's the American Express? There it is. And there's the round props. Alrighty, so let's find JT now. There he is. So you can see he's at 67.5, right? He's +110 for the over and -150 for his under. So I like the sportsbook value that we can get on a JT. But on top of that, I like the fact that he played well in round 1. Just didn't miss a shot, was hitting the ball to 10, 15 feet all day. That makes quite a bit of sense for me. Then the other under I mentioned earlier was the Scotty Scheffler prop. And Scotty Scheffler, you may think like, oh, he's probably not going to be priced very well, but you'd actually be mistaken. He's actually -150 towards the under. And let's see what DraftKings has him at least. All right, Control F. Let's find the chef. All right, so you can see, oh, they actually put him back closer to even money. Oh, sorry, it's Patrick Cantlay. What am I saying? Of course they didn't put him back closer to even money. He's still minus 140 towards the under. So if you're going to take anything over in prize picks, you've got 2+ EV spots. They can take with a JT and a Scotty and lean into the easy conditions, right? Like we said, it's going to play relatively similar to what we got in round one. The scoring average over here in the Nicklaus tournament course, where both are going to be playing, was 3.35 under par, which means for a JT to hit, he's probably going to have to gain like a stroke and a half to the field. And for somebody like a Scotty Scheffler to hit, right, he's going to have to gain 2.5 strokes to the field. At this kind of weak field event, that shouldn't be that hard for those two to get to. And in fact, JT projects for closer to a 66.5. And somebody like a Scotty Scheffler projects for closer to like a 55. I mean, that'd be a hell of a projection, like a 65.9. So maybe not as big of an edge as what we have with this JT prop. And I really think is mispriced. But Scotty Scheffler there, right, he's still minus 140 for the odds. Is still quite solid value there too. Unfortunately, you only get 2.7x value like over here on prize picks, but we don't have to jump through hoops to make slips. We don't have to go over here and try and find a plus EV pairing over here on the prize pick side. At least they let us enter two of the same props. So that's what I'm going with over there. Oh, sorry about that, boys. And that's pretty much all I've got for this live stream, right? There's not as much value, I'd say, from round two as what we had for round one. And a lot of that is just because of the underdog rules. It's atrocious. I'm sure a lot of people aren't even playing an underdog because of these bullshit rules that they have. And if they don't change it relatively soon, right, we're going to start putting more of our action over here on the prize pick side. So let's go ahead, add on to the results that we had yesterday. Just to show you guys, I mean, yesterday was an absolute movie. I mean, look at this, right? We had a couple slips that lost, right? Lost 50, lost 100, won 300, won 300, won 300, won 150, won 150, won 150, lost 50. And that was because of stupid ass Tobias Harris, who made 2 threes in like 5 minutes. And then the rest of this, right? Won 150, won 150. I mean, it was a good day for props. So let's go ahead, add to it. We're not going to have as much volume out here for round two, but hopefully we can make it more of a quality over quantity, right? Go out there, hit on a few of these props over here in prize picks, right? Hit on this sort of prop and have yourselves a day. That's all I've got, though. Appreciate everyone's support here. Smash a like button on the way out of here. Also subscribe so you don't miss any of the content throughout the weekend. Rounds 3 and 4, we'll be doing the same thing, going live early in the morning and getting ready to crush it for Saturday and Sunday. Again, I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys later, and best of luck with all your exposure.